Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living. We're a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. And Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. And our promise here is to reveal, to inspire, to uplift, to celebrate, and to magnify your greatness, our greatness. We acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded lands of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. In a similar fashion, we acknowledge how much the labor of enslaved Africans and their descendants has created the culture, the economic growth and development throughout history and across time. And these people have suffered the horrors of transatlantic trafficking, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little recognition. We are indebted to their labors and sacrifices, and we acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and the resulting impacts that can still be felt and witnessed today. Please join me, if you care to, in our opening song in this very room by Ron and Carol Harris. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room. Morning. Morning.
This is the time that we find what on. This is the time of each Sunday that we set aside for meditation. A time where we become still. We find a comfortable position. We relax our body, we relax our mind. And if we are comfortable, we can close our eyes. This is a time for us to center, to be present in this moment, right here and now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but right here in the now. We're going to invite you to take 3 nice, deep, cleansing breaths into the nose and out to the mouth. So here we go. Taking 1, and hold it. Hold it. And release. Let's do it one more time. Breath in. And release. One more time. Breath in. And release. And so as you can see, the flame flickering. It was just a few weeks ago. But it's, to me, it's very poignant for Pamela's talk today. And for who we are in the world. We are the light. And we offer our light to each other. Holding our light out so they others can tip into our light. Or sometimes we may have to borrow the light from them. We may be in a situation where life isn't going quite as well as we thought it would, or we think it should. And so we might need a little pick-me-up, a little lift, a little light. And that's why we have community. We have what? We have this community. We have, Reverend Pamela said, we are this community. We made up all these communities. People who draw to us, and we are drawn to. And so as we watch the flame, flickering flame, as it moves, as it sways, it's just like we are. We move, we sway, we get up, larger, and sometimes we get small. And all of that is okay. That is who we are. It's who we came to be through this life. We came to be light. We came to be the expression that only each of us have. It has flame flickers, but never goes out. It never, ever goes out. Just allow yourself to watch that flame.
And touch with a little louder.
Sorry. That's my meditation first. And so as we move on and allow ourselves to come back to the room, to become focused on where you are in this moment. Say Ashe. Amen. And so it is. And so I'm going to slightly extinguish the flame. Now, our reading for today comes from the ever-living, ever-loving Internet stage. And it's by Joan Didier. And she has a quote here that I write entirely to find out what I'm thinking, what I'm looking at, what I see, and what it means. what I want, and what I feel. What do you think of when I say be the light? Do you think that it sounds like a nice idea that people talk about, but don't really do? I mean, how can a person actually be the light? What about the times we feel like we're living more in the dark than the light? And what does it say about us when we admire or despise certain qualities in other people? So what does it mean to let our light shine or to be the light? You might not even know what I'm talking about. Or perhaps you're afraid of shining bright because you're worried about what people will think of you. Or you might feel like stepping fully into your light will extinguish the light of those around you. On the flip side, some people feel like letting the people around them shine. On the flip side, some people can feel like letting the other people around them shine will in some way dim their own light. But in my experience, quite the opposite is true. As Marianne Williamson wrote in her book, A Return to Love, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. To me, being the light doesn't mean being a perfect, positive person who is blissfully happy all the time and never makes mistakes. Oh, that's true. It means doing things that make me feel free and peaceful, surrendering control, trusting my intuition, showing compassion and kindness to myself and others, and believing the simple truth that I am enough it is about bringing light to the places that are dark. It is about looking for opportunities to lift someone else up. It is about making a conscious effort to do the things I know make my own light shine brighter, so I can also help other people recognize the light that is within them. The idea Marianne writes about, that letting our own light shine helps others shine too, makes me think about something I first learned from Gabby Bernstein that I now know to be a universal truth. I'm paraphrasing here, but the essence was that what you admire in others is a recognition of that thing in you. Or the light you see in others is a reflection of your own light. For example, I really admire people who get up on stage and give inspiring talks. I resonate with what they're saying, but I also admire the courage and vulnerability they're showing by putting themselves out there in that way. So how is what I see in them a reflection of my light? I think it's reflecting back to me that identity with wanting to use my voice in a way that helps others. I think it means that I have a desire to express myself in a way that makes me feel like I'm being truthful and authentic. I think the expression of the light touches me so deeply because I feel aligned with it. And the way I express it might be totally different. I might be able to talk to a friend who's going through a tough time and bring that vulnerability and authenticity into the conversation so they know they're not alone. You might just show up for your life day in and day out with more truth and compassion and speak up for yourself more than you used to. It's not about doing it exactly the same way. It's about doing it in a way that feels real and true for you. It's about being the lighthouse. Looking at things from this perspective really changed the way I think about people I admire. To not put them on a pedestal, but to recognize myself in them, as we can all recognize parts of ourselves in everyone we meet if we're paying attention. The reflection of the light also comes into play when you see something in another person you really don't like, and your shadow is being reflected back to you instead. Usually we don't want to feel whatever dark spot they triggered, so we lash out or judge them instead. This can be a tough thing to accept, and I'm sure we'd all prefer to believe that what irritates us about other people has nothing to do with us. Nothing at all. But as my friend and of course a miracles teacher, Anne-Marie Imperel said at one of her classes recently, somebody can trigger something in you that's not a trigger. Basically, whatever the other person is doing that pisses you off or pushes your buttons wouldn't bother you so much if it weren't a part of you that recognized the same behavior in yourself. In that kind of situation, we have two choices. We can be judgmental and attack, or we can recognize that the other person is us. Be compassionate and ask how we can help. One option will help both of us heal, and one will make both of us feel worse. Can you guess which one is which? I think extending kindness to someone else struggling with the very thing we struggle with plants a new seed in our brains that we're not alone in either. Choosing to bring the light to the situation can help both of us shine a little brighter. One thing I know for sure is that we all have the ability to let more light into our lives, and I hope some of the things I've shared with you helped you tap into how you can see that the light in yourself so you can be it and share it.
So for the folks that are here to see Reverend Pamelagrace, each month I do a chant, and in the month of December I do an adapted chant from O Come Emmanuel. So it should be a tune that may be familiar to folks, but the words are a little different. O come, the mind and heart divine. I open to the ease through every time. The choices to feel boredom or surprise, show judgment or forgiveness with my eyes. Rejoice, the heart and mind within. I let new loving kindness start again. And as we go through it a second time, we change the pronoun from I to you. And then the third time is we change it to we. And then the last time through, we come back to I. That's the goal. Oh come, mind and heart divine. I open to thee through every time. The choice is to feel boredom or surprise. Show judgment or forgiveness with my eyes. Rejoice, the heart and mind within. I let new loving kindness start again. Oh come, the mind and heart divine. You open to the ease through every time. The
choice is to feel boredom or surprise. Show judgment or forgiveness with your eyes. Rejoice, rejoice, the heart and mind within. You let your loving kindness start again. Oh come, the mind and heart divine. We open to the east through every time. The choice is to feel boredom or surprise. Show judgment or forgiveness with our eyes. Rejoice, rejoice, the heart and mind within. We let you loving kindness start again. Oh come, the mind and heart divine. I open to the east through every time. The choice is to feel boredom or surprise. Show judgment or forgiveness with my eyes. Rejoice, rejoice, the heart and mind within. I let you loving kindness start again. Well, I pinned Pamela so that people can see her. I'm sharing.
There once was a spirit who knew it was the light among the other spirits whose lights were just as bright. But the spirit wanted to experience what it would be like to be the light, to be the light. But the spirit went to God and asked, how can I really know that all there is a light in the world everywhere I go? And there's brightness around me, and every spirit shines. I want to go where I can show this light and light. Rise, little spirit, rise, little spirit. You'll go back to where you came from, and I know you should do well, and you will find His will. So as you call upon the night, I will always be with you. You are the light. Now, Lord, for this all to work, God caused it to forget who it was and why it came. But in His heart it left divine intuition that was sure to show the way back to the light through the darkest night, to make it home someday. Rise, little spirit, rise, little spirit. You'll go back to where you came from, and I know you should do well, and you'll do His will. So as you call upon the night, I will always be with you. You are the light. But the night fell and the darkness came, and it was all the soul could see. And it cried out loud, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Then suddenly from within, all became bright, and finally I realized and shouted, I am the light. I am the light. Rise of spirit, rise of spirit. Go back to where you came from and know you've done well. And you'll find your glory. Spread your wings and take flight. Rise, little spirit, you are the light. Rise, little spirit, rise, little spirit. Come back to where you came from and know you've done well. And your love is yours. Spread your wings and take flight. Rise, little spirit, you are the light. See, you are the light. You are the
I'm unmuted. There we are. Good morning, Northern Lights, and all my friends who have come this morning have already said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So stop saying that. So this topic, I chose this topic because this is the season of lights. And sometimes we're not all lit up about it. And it made me think about the very song that we've heard and what Reverend Michael did with the meditation and the reading. We forget that we're the light. So I am imagining I'm sharing my slide.
Yes.
Shake your head yes if you can see the slides. Oh, good. Okay. I never know what it is. So that's the title. And this is my favorite quote. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. I like that because it's so easy to just fall into being totally human. And forgetting that, like a little spirit in the song, that we came from somewhere. We actually came from a power bigger than we are. We're a piece of that power. And we've been placed here to have this human experience. And this human experience is everything. The good, the bad, the ugly, the light, the dark. And we have an obligation to share our light. I believe that since we have discovered we have a light, we have the obligation to share it. And it goes like Reverend Michael said in his reading. It can be, it isn't just sharing our smile, or even just sharing our hearts. It may be sharing our opinions, our insights, our kindness. But it's about sharing the who of who we are, ideally in a good way. Recently, my husband, some of you don't know it, but I'm married now. We got married October 16th. And my husband took me on a honeymoon to Guatemala as a photographic trip. He's a photographer. And it was rich with learning. I learned so much, I saw so much. I had no idea how being in this foreign country would touch me. I'm used to going to Europe, and I have loved my trips to Europe, but there was this Guatemala, which I guess you could say is a third world country. It was a totally different thing. And I woke up one morning with all these ideas about what this trip leader could do to invite more people to take his trips and to enrich the experience of those people who were taking his trips. So I told him I had some ideas, could I send them to him? And he said, yes. And those of you who know me know that he probably shouldn't have said that. But he did. So I sent them, and it was about 2 pages worth of wonderful ideas for what he could do with his business. How he could connect people, bring more people in, and what the beauty of it was, and how that could be shared. So I just shined my light. And he sent back all of my suggestions with his comments under them and why they wouldn't work. And then he ended by saying that many people had said he was the best trip leader of this sort of trips ever that they had ever seen. In other words, he did not need my opinion, nor my help, nor my ideas. And what I got was I must have hurt his feelings. So I sent him an apology saying, sounds like I overstepped or I hurt your feelings. I told you this was just a brain burst of interesting ideas. You can use them or not. It certainly wasn't my intention to tell you that you don't know what you're doing and that you can do, you need to do anything better. These were just ideas. And I felt bad. It took me 2 or 3 weeks to respond to it. I really felt bad about sharing all that information and sharing my life where it wasn't welcome. And then he sent me this week, yesterday I believe, a note back saying he hadn't intended to sound like he sounded. He was tired. There were a number of things that didn't go the way he had planned them to go in the trip, and that was for sure. We had quite the adventure with unexpected situations. But that he did like some of my ideas and he would be using some of them. That's okay, you didn't have to use any of them. But I appreciated enough. And so it was an experience of sharing my life and having it kind of thrown back at me. But then coming to full circle, and we're good now. But I did have to apologize for the potential of having insulted him or hurt his feelings or whatever. And we just got to a deeper level of understanding each other. I got a deeper understanding of what he was going through. Because on the trip, I was all about what I was going through. And in those unexpected things, I was just trying to cope. We had rainstorms and clouds and roadblocks and cobblestones to walk on. If you haven't walked on cobblestones, you've missed something. So sometimes the shining can put people off a little, depending on how we're shining. But still, I believe we have an obligation to share our thoughts, our dreams, even our opinions. We're coming into a new age now politically. And I think it's so important for the light to shine and not being overwhelmed or undermined or buried or put out by what we may face going forward. Just like on my trip, when we were in the rainstorm and the defroster on the truck, van windows weren't working, and we were going down a very steep, round mountain with other cars, flashlights coming towards the driver and making it hard to see. I stopped looking at the front of the van, looked out at the side of the van, and just declared that the universe had us. And I think sometimes in the midst of the storm, and there's nothing we can do about it, we can just declare the universe has got this. That which created all there is working with us right here, right now. took us an hour beyond the time it should have, but we got there safely. And the poor driver showed up the next day, so it was open. So as we are considering shining our light, I ask, what are you putting out in the world right now? And what I really am asking is, what are we putting out in the world? Are we putting out our light? Or are we adding to the dark? Are we doing the pity party thing? Somebody says, oh, yesterday was a horrible day, and we say, oh yeah, it was just terrible, and off we go down that rabbit hole. I'm now living on Whidbey Island, and people refer to taking the ferry across to Seattle as going to the dark side. They call that area, the city of Seattle and surrounding little cities, the dark side. And when they say that, I say, you know, I don't see it that way. I love going over there. I have like 47 times more choice of restaurants than we do on the island. Not that I don't love the island's restaurants, but it's so nice to have more choices. We have Costco over there. I can shop. And there's just a plethora of diversity on this other side that I get to be in the midst of. I took my husband over, who is very much, I want to stay on the island, I don't want to go. And we were sitting in a shopping center, and I said, look around. I said, that person is Somalian, that person is probably from the Philippines, that person is Thai, this person is Ukrainian, probably based on the accent I'm hearing. This is what we have when we cross the water to Seattle. It's not the dark side. It's this amazing integration of all of these things and people and cultures. This is a good thing. And then we get to go back to our little bubble on Whidbey and be calm and look out the trees at the sky and the water. That's good too. That's good too. So what are we putting out? And this, my friends, is a practice, because it's so easy to fall into the dark side conversation. It's so easy to take the negative and go down a rabbit hole with it. It's also easy to be the person to put it out, the negative out in the world. And I'm not saying that every time somebody says something negative that we have to jump on them with the positive. But I am saying, what are we putting out in the world? What are we saying? What negativity are we buying into? Did I buy into the fact that the poor driver couldn't see while the rain and the fog and this coming headlights were happening, and that therefore we were going to go off a cliff on this mountain? Did I buy into that? I did not. It did help that the trip leader was wiping the window the whole time from the inside. That helped. But what are we buying into, and what are we putting out? And being aware of what we're saying and how we're saying it, and we've used the phrase cancel, when we say something like, oh my God, that's never gonna work. No, cancel. It could work. And then, don't you love this picture? Isn't that kitten cute? I love the kittens. What are we hiding? Not what are you hiding? What are we hiding? What are we keeping from the world? I have mentioned this before. I had someone, she kind of snarled at me. She said, you listen to everybody. You ask questions and you get to know people and you just listen to them. And yet don't tell them anything about you. So we don't know you. You know all about and we don't know about you. And I was surprised. I was taken aback. My feelings were a little hurt. And then I thought about what she said, and not long ago, one of my husband's relatives said the same thing. You even listen to us and you ask us questions, but we don't know much about you. And I've been raised, well, I've been conditioned. I had been conditioned to feel that talking about myself was self-aggrandizing. Someone actually used that phrase to me. That is self-aggrandizing. To keep talking about yourself and what you've done and what your achievements are. And I agree that somebody can get pretty old. You can get tired of listening and going on and on about who they are and what they do and how wonderful they are. However, depending on how we say it and why we're saying it can change everything. And by sharing who we are, we're sharing our life. By sharing what we do, we're sharing our life. By sharing our appreciation of other people, we're sharing our life. And the two folks that said to me that I was hiding out, just like this little kitty, they were right. I learned a long time ago that I could have an easier time with people if I just got them to talking. And I never thought about sharing myself. And then one day I read this book about how to work a room, how to go into a room full of strangers and get to know them and so on, so that you create business opportunities. And one of the things the author said was, make a set of questions to ask each person, because I was having to go to these things all the time, because when I was starting off my business as a consultant, and I just hated it. So I said, have some relevant questions to ask people. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you here? And have 3 to 5 things you're going to tell them about yourself, whether they ask or not. Now, can you imagine? And especially since I know that some of my friends on here are introverts. And it's not the first thing we think about is, what am I going to tell these people about myself? That's the last thing we think about. I know I'm not the only one on that one. Now, one of my friends on here, who shall remain unnamed, can talk to a telephone post. She has no problem. She can just go on and on. I have to pull her out of the room. But some of my other friends, I know that you're a little more like I was. You'd be more likely to find out more about the other person. And what I have found since I have been practicing, although as you can see I already fell down a couple of times in this practice, I found that it wasn't easy, but I felt a little better. Not like happy, but I felt better about sharing some of myself, because I was actually kind of standing up for myself. Not putting a bushel basket over your head and hiding your lungs. I was standing up for myself. And every now and then I have friends who will stand up for me, but we need to be able to stand up for ourselves, bring ourselves into the room, and share who we are and what we stand for and what our passion is. People get passionate when we're passionate, even if it's something they never thought of. I once heard a man give a talk in Toastmasters about tomatoes. I do not have a green thumb yet. I'm working on that. And I have failed at growing tomatoes, and I wasn't interested in tomatoes. But by the time that man finished his talk about tomatoes, I wanted to go out and plant some tomatoes, because he was so passionate. So what are we hiding? And then, in this whole process of being the light, There's some things we have to let go of. We have to let go of situations determining who we are and how we'll show up. Regardless of what's going on around us. We have to let go of those situations. And sometimes these situations are old. There's stuff we've been dragging along for years. My husband gets a little upset at my memory. He says, "You never forget anything, do you?" No, not when you say something I don't like. Yep, I remember it. So that's not good, my friends. So I'm working on letting go of that stuff. And now when you say something not good, I just skip to that one and I don't bring up the other 13, 14, or 100 things you said caught my attention in a negative. So we need to forgive situations like we should also be forgiving people and ourselves. Forgive what we did or didn't do. Reverend Ron said I did not have to beat myself up this morning about not waking up early. I've been waking up early, but I have this cold and I think it kind of caught up with me. I did not wake up early. I woke up in time, of course, for this, but I didn't wake up at 6 or 7, which I thought I was supposed to do. Reverend Ron says I was not supposed to do it if that's not what I needed to do. Thank you, Reverend Ron. So letting go of situations, forgiving things that have happened to us, maybe even doing a little ceremony and saying this is no longer impacting me. And here's how you know if it's still impacting you, if you're still telling people about it. I was telling my husband yesterday about a mean boss that I had, probably 30 years ago. You know I should have let go of that by now. And it reminded me, I'm holding on to some stuff I don't even hold on to. I don't know where that woman is. I don't know if she's still alive. Why am I still remembering that this woman said this or that to me when I remember her in 1980? You tell me. I'm not holding on to that. I don't need to hold on to that. What brought it up was the movie 6888, which is a superb movie. By the way, just saying. So letting go of the negative people, letting go of whatever happened 100 years ago or whatever even happened yesterday. We don't have to hold on to. And that person cut me off on the freeway and I was late. And I'm laughing because yesterday I went to have coffee with an old friend and a new friend, someone I didn't really know. And I was trying to get there on time because I really wanted to be there on time. And I turned a corner and there was a person stopped in the middle of the street. And she was waiting for somebody to pull out. And I'm just a fussing. Why can't you just go find another parking spot? It's just not that big a deal. And meanwhile, cars are piling up behind me because it's a very small little town. This is the one where I live in, Coopville, and there weren't a lot of choices about which way you could turn. Now, she had choices, but those of us behind her did not. I'm just a fussy. Finally, the person who was moving out of her parking spot, who must have been checking her cell phone or something, moved out, and the person in front of me moved in, and I was able to find the parking spot right away and get to my coffee on time. But I was just fussing to my partner because the third person wasn't there yet. And I was just fussing, and I was telling her, and there was this woman sitting in the middle. There was this car sitting in the middle of the road, and it wasn't going nowhere. And there were 6 of us, when I looked back, that were waiting for this person to move. And that person was waiting for the other one to pull out. I was trying to get here on time. I think I was 2 minutes late. And then our third person, who was coming in the door as I was fussing, said, "Oh, I think that was me." I said, Because she was so close to being behind me, I was like, that's so funny. She said, no, I think that was me. And I said, you're joking, right? Because here I am fussing about the very first meeting. It was her. She, on the other hand, was quite good at letting me know the name. She said, yeah, it was me. And she went on and ordered her coffee and went on about her business. And I was mortified that I was talking so bad about this driver. And it turns out to be the person I'm having coffee with. She was not mortified at all. It's like, yeah, it was me. That woman took too long. I don't care. She didn't care. Alrighty then, moving along. So, letting go of the negative. I spent a moment in that situation saying, oh my God, Pamela, you should have been talking about that. You should realize that sometimes what you're saying about people, they're right there in the I did a little beat up, and then I gave that up and said, I'm talking. Self-talk. What are we saying to ourselves? How are we undermining ourselves with our own negative perspectives? This too is a practice. And by practice, I mean it's something you keep doing because it's so easy to fall into negative self-talk. You should have done this, you should have done that, and now look what you did. I'm worried about responding to the trip leader for 2 or 3 weeks. What am I going to say to him? He certainly said a lot to me about what I already said to him. How can I fix this? I wanted to fix it. I wanted him to feel better. I got that. He didn't. And it did help that he said, look, I wasn't my best self. It did help. And it allowed me to say, well, certainly wasn't my bad for that. So our self-talk, what are we saying to ourselves? And I read this quote, and I thought it was important. Close some doors, not because of pride or fear, but because they no longer lead somewhere. So some of the things we need to let go of that we may be holding on to, they're not doing anything for us. They're not taking us anywhere. They're not helping us. I've had friends that I let go of because the relationship wasn't leading anywhere. Or I've had friends where I just backed off a little bit because they evidently didn't want to go where I was charging. And we can gently do that and move on. So I'm just giving us permission on that one to close the doors that aren't leading anywhere and open the doors that have the possibilities and the potential. And reaching for the good. Sometimes we have to think about it. We have to stretch ourselves. We have to maybe do a little reaching. Where is the good in this? Sometimes we have to assume there was good in this. Like this morning, as I was getting ready, my coffee got cold, so I put it on the shelf in the kitchen, intending to warm it up just before I got online here. And my husband, who is a little neatnik, and those of you who know me know I am more relaxed, not particularly obsessive about having everything in what needs to be done now. Anyway, he took my basically a full cup of coffee and dumped it because he was going to wash the dishes. I had a small, tiny sip and used a swear word. And then I said to myself, that's probably good because coffee would rile me all up and I'd be going 90 miles an hour like I'm doing anyway. So I certainly didn't need any more help with the excitement of being here with everybody. Didn't need that help. And I said, you know what? Maybe the universe decided I just didn't need any coffee. So I got some water instead. And it was all good. And I gave my husband a kiss on the cheek to let him know it's okay. So, reaching for the good. Sometimes the good is a reach. And by that I mean you have to really think about it. Okay, what's the good? I'll go back to driving down the mountainside in the rain, in squiggly roads, active traffic with cliffs on the other side. What was the good? The good was we were still in the bus and we went down the cliff. So every minute that I could say that was good. I was reaching. I admit it. It's like, okay, so far so good. So far so good. So far so good. And there's another thing around reaching for the good is what lies behind us and what lies before us are nothing compared to what lies within us. Again, that's a practice and a trust walk to know that there is good in us that's just waiting to bounce out. But there is that within us which is good, whether we know that or not. It is good, and that it's sharing light and good. An example of that, I went with my husband to his creative photography class this week, where the challenge is to take your ordinary photos and do something creative with them. And I was talking to one of the people who started it, and we got to a place in our house, we talked about a number of things. And she said, she was talking about letting go of attachment and how she wasn't attached to what people said about her photos, whether they liked them or not. She liked the idea that it sparked conversation, but if they liked them, fine. If they didn't like them and they told her, fine. She didn't care. I said, I care. It hurts my feelings when people say I don't like this stuff. And she says, well, you need to work more on attachment. She says, I'm good. I could die tomorrow. I'd be fine. I've had a great life. And I looked at her and I said, you're sounding like your work is done. You're sounding like you don't have anything else to offer. That's so not true, because her creativity with the photographs was, in my opinion, the most of everybody in the room. I got more inspired by her work. I have no way I would ever reach her level of creativity. Because I don't have all the stuff she has. But what she inspired me to do was to go look at the applications I do have and the photos I do have and see what I could do in my own little world with them. She inspired me. And she's saying, okay, I'm done. I don't have anything to offer. So not true. So not true. And I wouldn't let her off the hook. I said, yes, you do. You can't say that. Don't say that again. You have no idea what kind of a wonderful impact you're making. Look at what the people in this room have done. You don't get to say you're ready to go. Not yet. And she said, okay, I hear you. I don't know if I changed her mind, but maybe I gave her something to think about. And finally, the God can. This is the God can. My sister talked about it not long ago. She has a little box where she puts challenges in, or she puts the affirmations in. I had a little box where I put the things I wanted spirit to fix. Now here's the funny thing, my friends. I love saying that, my friends. I put in things like, the furnace is not working. And my thought was, and God can fix that. Or I need to get the fence fixed. God can fix that in my mind, etc., etc. So I'm putting in, the furnace is not working. The fence is broken. You see where I'm going with this? And then I wondered why these things weren't miraculously showing up in some way or another as fixed. An idea someone often held. Why weren't my little garage can was just getting full of stuff. I wasn't taking anything out. And then I realized what I was doing wrong. One should put affirmations in the God can. My furnace is fixed. The fence is perfect. The absolute right and perfect buyer is right there to buy my home that I'm selling since I moved out here. I mean, you're supposed to put the end point of what you see, not the problem. So I don't have a God can anymore physically, I have it in my head. And I use it as a practice. Whenever I start to think, will my house ever sell? Like, it's going to happen. The perfect person is showing up, the perfect buyer, and in fact, my house is going to close on Friday, so on the last day of December, as so. So we can put our little God can in our heads and just say, this is handled. The universe has this handled. Even though right now in front of me, it's not looking handled, the universe has it handled. The selling of my house has been a trek, a path. I didn't figure out to sell my house immediately. I looked at renting and I looked at all kinds of things. And I looked at what property was being sold for and what I wanted and what I needed. I went through all of this. And then I came to the conclusion, I'm selling. And the perfect buyer showed up. I can't. The universe can. Spirit can. Whatever you call that higher intelligence, just put it in there in your head with everything else and use it as an affirmation or a rubber stamp. It's solved. It's fixed. All I need to do is wait for the outcome. So I have this activity card. So, I forgot. I had a mantra that I forgot to put in here. But you can just use my favorite one, which is all is well and unfolding as it should. All is well and unfolding as it should. And so with that, my friends, I'm going to close us out with affirmative prayer, knowing that right where we are, Spirit is. And knowing that we are indeed spiritual beings, a part of that which created it all. We are the essence of that, showing up in human form, having a human experience that enriches the spiritual of who we are and of that which created everything there is. Because that which created only experiences the creation through its creation, through us. And so I am affirming that we continue to practice living unto our lives, that we continue to practice being the light we are in the world in the way that we are the light. Whether we are the light that protects animals, or the light that connects people, or the light that brings in some new creation, writing, wearing, painting, speaking, whatever it is that is our particular passion and skill or gift, that we are the light that puts it out there in the world, come heck or high water, and whether anybody else likes it or not, we put it out there knowing that as we are doing that, we inspire others to open and share their own life. And so I am thankful this morning for my beautiful friends showing up. I am thankful for Northern Lights and the gentlemen who lead it and keep the lights on and keep it running, Reverends Michael and Vaughn. I'm thankful for the folks who show up every Sunday. Reva, Jeffrey, Phyllis, Stephanie, and more. I am thankful for the light that each of us is. I'm thankful for our willingness and ability to add to the light of others. And so knowing in this seasons of light, or season of light, that it continues through us beyond December and on. And being thankful for that, I say, Ashe, Amen,
Amen.
and so it is.
So it is.
I return control of this meeting to Reverend Vaughn. Or Reverend Michael.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. I remember that. This is a great song. How did we do it?
Every snowflake has a different shape. Every raindrop has a hat to take. Every diamond has a different shine. Every atom is self-divine. Be authentic, be alive, be connected to the love inside. Be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. Be yourself, be yourself. Too much conformity can make you choke. Every painter has a different stroke. You got a calling, it's time to see what creation makes all unique. Be authentic, be alive, be connected to your heart inside. Be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. Be yourself, be yourself. Inner guidance gonna make you sing and be connected with everything. Love and joy, you cannot miss. Be yourself and all your bliss. Be authentic, be alive. Listen to the words of the wise. Be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. Be yourself, be yourself. Be yourself, be yourself, be yourself.